Exclusive contract novel from Feilu Novel Network. China doesn't have luxury goods. Sorry. You can't afford it. When the phrase, "there are no luxury goods in China," appeared on the internet, it sparked crazy discussions across the internet, with a popularity exceeding 100 million. After reading the news, Su Bai, a professor of Chinese cultural research in China, couldn't help but express himself. China is not without luxury goods, it's just that even wealthy people cannot afford luxury goods in China. As soon as this statement was made, the whole country raised doubts. Everyone thinks this is Su Bai's tough mouth. Represent one by one. I know you love your country, but you can't blindly love your country either. Is it so difficult to admit that you are not as good as others? Professor, I am a very patriotic person, but this time I think you're a bit embarrassed. Faced with countless doubts from netizens, the binding system Su Bai has enabled live streaming. Soon, one by one, the top luxury goods of China were born. Golden Silk Nanmu Chair, a red robe worth 50,000 yuan per gramLongquan. Printing MudFeilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Does China have luxury goods? For Huaxia Zheng. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Does China have luxury goods? Correct the name for China. Professor Su Bai, you cannot favor our Chinese culture just because you are a researcher of our culture, can you? The West is indeed stronger than us in this regard, why do you have to be stubborn? I still think that as Chinese people, we should examine ourselves more and face ourselves squarely, rather than just praising ourselves. In China, there are no luxury goods, and the West is stronger than us in this regard, which is beyond doubt. Qingbei University. In the lecture hall. At this moment, the entire auditorium was filled with a tense atmosphere. The entire hall of students from the Qing and northern regions dared not speak. Just because a girl wearing glasses is questioning a professor on stage. Students publicly question the professor. This is extremely rare in northern China, and even in the entire country. Everyone looked at the stage one after another, waiting for the professor's next reaction. But even though he is a professor, he is only in his 20s and has a deep temperament. Dressed in appropriate Tang attire, with a handsome and elegant face. Being questioned by students from northern China in public. The young professor's expression was not at all nervous. The deep gaze swayed slightly. This matter. We have to start from 2 days ago. His name is Su Bai and he is a traveler. He was extremely enthusiastic about the inheritance of Chinese culture in his previous life. After crossing this world. Moreover, he has become a researcher and inheritor of Chinese civilization. However, at just over 20 years old, he became a visiting professor at all renowned universities in the country. Special lectures will be held to introduce Chinese culture to students. Due to his handsome appearance and witty teaching style, he is very popular. However, just a few days ago, something happened. On Douyin, suddenly a topic started to explode. That is, do we really not have luxury goods in China? In this video, many luxury goods from abroad are introduced to Chinese people. Watches, bags, lipsticks, clothes. Each item costs several $100,000, or even millions, which is equivalent to the entire wealth of an ordinary household. On the other hand, what about China? But it seems like there's nothing at all. Everyone knows that these luxury goods are overpriced, but there are still so many people from countries and regions who are crazy about them and buy in large quantities. Make Western luxury goods companies make a lot of money. But this money seems to have never been earned by Huaxia. Does this mean that Huaxia has no voice or place in the luxury goods market? Put it in a different sentence. Does this also indirectly indicate that Western civilization is superior to our Chinese counterparts in this regard? Otherwise, why do they dominate the definition of luxury goods? But not Huaxia. This video is highly topical. On the day of its release, Douyin exploded, directly sparking discussions across the entire network. The statement that China does not have luxury goods has also been increasingly recognized by more and more people. Because people usually seem to have never heard of any luxury goods in China. These should have nothing to do with Su Bai. Until a few days ago, when Su Bai was giving a lecture at Moda University. A journalist suddenly asked if he, as a researcher of Chinese civilization, had heard of the saying that there were no luxury goods in China. At the same time, he spoke frankly through the perspective of that video. Is this explained on the side? Is Western civilization better than our Chinese civilization? As soon as this problem arose, everyone's breathing paused. After all, the topic is too sharp. And indeed, China cannot compete completely with the West in the luxury goods field. They believe that. No matter how you answer, Su Bai will be very difficult to handle. However, faced with this thorny problem, Su Bai just smiled lightly and said, "We in China are not without luxury goods, but real luxury goods that you cannot afford." Say it. In the silence of the whole audience, he left without looking back, leaving only a deep silhouette. At the beginning, Su Bai only believed that this was a very simple small question, and she answered it truthfully. It shouldn't cause too much controversy. But what I didn't expect was, people seem to be particularly interested in this topic, due to the fact that the professor's lectures are all recorded on video. Therefore, on the same day, someone posted this Q&A video of Su Bai on Douyin. Without a doubt, it started to explode. However, in just 2 or 3 hours, there were tens of thousands of comments, directly causing greater discussion. Almost everyone believes that Su Bai is just being stubborn. After all, in today's luxury brands, where is the name of Huaxia? As a researcher and inheritor of Chinese culture, Su Bai was just forcibly trying to abdicate his authority. After 2 days have passed, this matter is still fermenting, even becoming increasingly popular. Until today when Su Bai came to give a speech in Qingbei. Finally, a student couldn't help but stand up and question Su Bai. This is also the opening scene. The screen returns to the present. Su Bai shook her head slightly. To be honest, after watching the discussions on this topic over the past 2 days, he understands. This matter is no longer a simple debate about whether China has luxury goods. But it has already risen to the level of whether Western civilization is more advanced and excellent than Eastern civilization. Strangely, many people have already begun to believe that this is true. Huaxia, there are no luxury goods. In this regard, it is weaker than the West. As the inheritor of Chinese civilization, Su Bai found it very funny. We have always had luxury goods in China, but you simply can't afford them. And for things that you can't afford at all, you naturally won't pay too much attention to them and won't know about them. It's like those Chanel bags. It is said to be a luxury item, but even if an ordinary person grits their teeth, they cannot afford 2,000 or 3,000. So more people will know about them. In fact, luxury goods in China are the things that truly fit the meaning of these 3 words in luxury goods. Even if ordinary people want to touch it, they can't touch it. With this idea in mind, faced with questioning from students in the Qingbei Hall, Su Bai directly popularized these knowledge to them. However, the next moment, something unexpected happened to him. The students didn't believe what he said at all, thinking he was just talking empty talk without any evidence. Faced with this situation, Su Bai was also somewhat helpless. It is indeed difficult to convince them of words without evidence. Do you want to find some real luxury goods from China to show them to yourself? But this kind of thing is not so easy to find. For a moment, Su Bai was somewhat helpless. But the next moment, A mechanical voice suddenly rang out from his mind, "Ding, the Huaxia inheritance system has been bound. Get rewards for novices. Golden Phoebe, Mount Wuyi Mother Tree Dahongpao, Longquan Inmu. Posting task. Correct the name of Chinese luxury goods. Task reward. A set of top luxury goods in China. Do you accept the task?" Chapter 2. Phoebe Canarium, Mother of Mount Wuyi Mountain. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 2. Golden Phoebe, Mount Wuyi Mother Tree Dahongpao, Longquan Inmu. System. Su Bai's eyes twitched slightly. After so many years, the system has finally gone live. And it came just right. Accept. Without hesitation, Su Bai said. It's hard not to accept the system's rewards because they are too generous. Just talk about the newbie rewards you received for nothing. Firstly, there is the golden Nanmu, which is the most expensive wood in the world. No one. The value of a top-quality golden silk Nanmu in a past life was sold for tens of millions or more. There is also, Dahongpao, the mother tree of Mount Wuyi. This object is even more amazing. It was picked from the only Dahongpao mother tree on Mount Wuyi. The annual output is just like this, incredibly precious. Once, 1 kilogram of tea was sold for a sky-high price of 10 million. Finally, there is the Longquan printing clay. There's nothing more to say about this, it's the best ink in the world, a royal tribute. Due to the cumbersome production process, a box of ink has to wait for a full 6 years. Under the same weight, it is even more valuable than gold. These three things are all more expensive than the same gold. In front of them, those tens of thousands of bags are nothing but luxury goods. This is the true luxury of China. Now, they have all come into the hands of Su Bai. Besides that, the system still has tasks, as long as the name of Huaxia luxury goods is verified. We will reward Su Bai with a complete set of top luxury goods in China. Rao is Su Bai, who has been studying Chinese civilization for many years. It's also hard to imagine what it would be like to be considered a top luxury item in China, or a complete set of things. But it must be countless times more precious than the previous 3 items, priceless. And this task is like giving it away for nothing. I already have those 3 luxury items, and completing this task is not an easy task. Therefore, Su Bai has absolutely no reason to refuse this task. In a clear sense, those 3 luxury items are placed behind their own system space. Su Bai nodded in satisfaction. But at this point, the sound of continuous discussion from the audience kept seeping into his ears. I said, why hasn't Professor Su talked for so long, standing there in a daze? I guess I also knew I couldn't hold on anymore, so I was embarrassed. I'll just say it. We don't have luxury goods in China, so he insisted on insisting. Let's do it now. Luxury goods are inherently defined as the dominant power in the West. How can we in China compare ourselves to others? After all, Western civilization is more advanced. It seems that the predecessor's choice to go abroad was carefully considered. Looking down at the noisy and talkative auditorium below, Su Bai pretended to cover up her actions. The auditorium gradually quieted down. Looking at these students, either disdainful or indifferent, Su Bai said lightly, after today's class ends, I will have a live broadcast at my home. In the live broadcast, I will show you what is the true luxury of China. Interested students can come and watch on their own. No more words said. Su Bai left directly. Only those students from the northern Qing dynasty were left behind and exploded in the auditorium. What did Professor Su just say? He will live stream showcasing the true luxury goods of China at home. I feel a bit unreliable. Where do we get luxury goods in China? He's a professor no matter what he says, so he shouldn't deceive us, right? Anyway, just go and take a look and you'll know. Around 5 p.m. in the afternoon. Returning home, Su Bai. Official start of live streaming. After several hours of fermentation. The words spoken by Su Bai in the auditorium have long been spread. Almost all students from Qingbei have flocked here to watch the live broadcast. I want to see what real luxury goods in China are. Su Bai, are you bragging? The popularity of live streaming rooms has rapidly skyrocketed, from tens of thousands to over 200,000. In the camera. It is a medium-sized courtyard. Full of the flavor of a Chinese courtyard. In people's puzzled gazes. Su Bai lifted the white cloth covering the center of the courtyard. The next moment. A processed golden Nanmu appeared in front of everyone. Wow, what is this thing? A piece of wood. Or is it golden? How come there are golden stripes on it? Didn't they say they wanted to show us luxury goods from China? Why only show us a piece of wood? He wouldn't say that this piece of wood is a so-called luxury item in China, right? The students from the northern Qing dynasty were discussing extensively. Looking at the doubts in these barrage. Su Bai's expression remained unchanged. That's right, this piece of wood is one of the luxury goods in China that I call it. Puhaha. Unexpectedly, Su Bai's words caused a burst of laughter. Did I hear you right? This piece of wood is what we call a luxury item in China. Don't joke, Professor Su. Don't you think it's funny to use a piece of wood as a luxury item? Western luxury goods are meticulously crafted watch bags, while our Chinese luxury goods are just a piece of wood. This gap has already emerged, right? As expected, the Western countries have the final say in luxury goods. The students from the northern Qing dynasty shook their heads one after another. Questioning how this ordinary piece of wood can be considered a luxury item. Regarding this, Su Bai doesn't make any special reactions either. Just continue to take out many tools on your own. Rulers, lathes, saws, angle grinders, polishers next up. He took out the blueprint he had drawn in the afternoon and started construction on the golden Nanmu. This is not ordinary wood, it's called golden silk Nanmu. In ancient times, it was used as a professional timber for the royal family. The throne of those emperors' dragon chairs is made of top-notch golden Nanmu. At the same time, it is also a special material used in ancient times to build royal palaces, tombs, gardens, etc., with a value of thousands of gold. Su Bai used tools to cook the golden Nanmu, while explaining lightly. He decided to use this priceless golden Nanmu to show the students what truly luxury goods in China are. What a joke, worth 1,000 gold. Is this ordinary piece of wood also suitable? Even those luxury goods in the West dare not use these 4 words. Professor Su, please stop talking nonsense. Who would use 1,000 coins to buy a piece of wood? Su Bai's valuable words immediately caused a huge response in the live broadcast room. No matter what, people cannot believe that such an ordinary piece of wood can be linked to its value. But Su Bai was too lazy to explain to them at this moment. Put your heart and soul into the carpenter in front of you. At this moment, his movements were incredibly calm. Splitting, polishing without any unnecessary movements, it is pleasing to the eye. He was originally a scholar of Chinese civilization, carrying a scholarly temperament. Now, putting down my body to work as a carpenter, not only did it not lose any value, but it also seemed to emit a faint natural charm of Taoism. Carpentry is already a part of Chinese civilization. Su Bai, who was proficient in traditional Chinese culture, was already proficient in the chest. And this golden Nanmu also seemed to have spirituality, changing into countless shapes under his control. At this moment, in this Chinese courtyard, the scene is so harmonious. People are gradually getting confused. Looking at Su Bai, who seemed to have fallen into a state of harmony between heaven and humanity. Inexplicably, the questioning voice in the live broadcast room suddenly became much quieter. Chapter 3. A chair costs 20 million yuan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. A chair costs 20 million yuan. The movements on Su Bai's hands continued. Sweat began to seep from the forehead. At this moment, several hours have already passed. The popularity of the live broadcast room has not decreased at all, and it is even increasing. Although at first glance it may seem like a very ordinary, boring woodworking job. But the implied charm seems to contain a kind of magic, making people involuntarily continue to watch. Measure and polish the last piece of wood in your hand. Su Bai breathed a long sigh of relief. Everything is ready, and next it's just assembly. He stood up and gathered all the previously made components together. Then slowly assemble it. See the action of Su Bai. At this point, people gradually realized that Su Bai wanted to use this golden wood for something. Professor Su, it seems like we're going to make a chair. Chair. But isn't today's theme about showcasing China's luxury goods to us? Also, making a chair is fine, but where are the nails? How come I haven't seen a nail from start to finish? Oh, yes, how can I make a chair without nails? Even if I don't know carpentry, I know. It seems that Professor Su not only has insufficient knowledge of luxury goods, but also not very clear about carpentry. Nail, go find the nail quickly. I'm so anxious. Looking at the live broadcast room without a single nail. The audience shook their heads one after another. Being a carpenter without even bringing nails indicates Su Bai's amateur skills. But these doubts cannot affect Su Bai at all. Amidst a chorus of questioning, his hand movements are still continuing. And as he assembled the parts of the chair one by one, the originally noisy live broadcast room. But inexplicably, it began to quiet down. Just because in the live broadcast room, every component assembled by Su Bai is perfectly seamless, even without any gaps. The most crucial thing is, there are clearly no nails. But after these parts are assembled, they are all connected very firmly and there is no intention of them falling apart. Even the traces of assembly cannot be seen. It seems like it's natural. It's like this chair wasn't assembled by Su Bai. But it grows naturally from trees. And looking at this picture, gradually, the students were stunned. And in the end, when Su Bai assembles the last part, when sitting directly on a chair without causing any shaking, all the viewers in the live broadcast room were shocked. What's going on here and here? Isn't this kind of chair supposed to fall apart just by sitting on it? Why is it so reliable when there isn't even a nail? Also, why does this chair look completely different from before? The audience exclaimed in shock. This chair is made of golden wood and does not require a single nail. Not only does it have a very imposing appearance, but the interweaving of golden patterns is also faintly visible, with hidden gold threads, exuding a sense of luxury. What's even more rare is, although it has not undergone any reinforcement treatment, it is completely firm. Su Bai, who is 1.8 meters tall, sat on it without any shaking. This undoubtedly subverts their imagination. Faced with the shock of everyone, Su Bai wiped the sweat off her head. This technique, called mortise and tenon craftsmanship, is one of the unique skills passed down by ancient Chinese craftsmen. It doesn't need a single nail, it's all built with the craftsmanship of the carpenters, and the interlocking between them is natural, allowing the natural color of the wood material to be fully displayed. This natural beauty is consistent with the traditional idea of harmony between heaven and man. The mortise and tenon joints, with one convex and one concave, one advancing and one retreating, are embedded in different directions, causing the forces of wood expansion and contraction to cancel each other out. When more of these mortise and tenon joints are combined together, a complex and delicate balance will be achieved. After thousands of years, they remain stable, and the Taoist philosophy of complementary and mutually reinforcing yin and yang coincides with each other. So it's like this. After listening to Su Bai's explanation, the students from the northern Qing dynasty all nodded involuntarily. Surprisingly, it is a craft passed down from ancient times in their Chinese culture. But is this what they call luxury goods in China? Western luxury goods are all famous wines, watches, bags, and the like. Their luxury item in China is actually a chair made of golden wood. Although the technology of this chair is somewhat shocking. But can this chair really compete with those Western luxury goods? The students from northern China expressed doubts about this. Professor Su, how much can this chair be sold for? Compared to those luxury goods in the West, which one is more expensive? Looking at the doubts of these students, Su Bai also understood what they were thinking in their hearts. It's not nonsense either. Sitting directly on that chair, I made a phone call that shocked everyone. The phone was quickly answered. Hello, is this Christie's auction house? Su Bai asked. Yes sir, I am Michigan, the manager of Christie's auction house. May I help you? On the other end of the phone, Michigan, located on the other end of the ocean, also answered seriously in Chinese. As the globally renowned general manager of auction houses, he is proficient in several languages. Meanwhile, few people know about his private phone number. What can be called in is usually big business. And after hearing the conversation between the two, all the viewers in the live broadcast room were stunned. As students from the northern Qing dynasty, their knowledge is naturally even broader than that of ordinary people. Christie's auction house, which is one of the top 10 auction houses in the world. Michigan, even more so, is the manager of their national headquarters. Professor Su actually called this kind of person. How could he have the other person's contact information? What these students don't know is, as an inheritor of Chinese civilization and a visiting professor at numerous universities, Su Bai still has some energy. The next moment, what shocked these Tsinghua students even more happened. In the live broadcast room, Su Bai said indifferently to the phone, it's like this. I have a chair made of golden Nanmu that has been around for over 1,000 years. I don't know if your Christie's auction house is willing to accept it, and how much price you are willing to offer. What? Su Bai's words haven't finished yet. The originally calm Michigan tone suddenly changed. Is the chair made of golden Nanmu still over 1,000 years old? Dear sir, if it is true, our Christie's auction house is willing to charge 20 million Chinese dollars. I just don't know where you are now. Please let me know your location so that I can personally go and discuss with you in person. Su Bai calmly reported her position. Okay, Mr. Su, I'll take note of it now. Please make sure to wait for me and don't contact any other auction houses. I'm sure I'll give you the most satisfactory price. Say it. Michigan quickly hung up the phone. It seems that I quickly booked my flight. And looking at the scene before us, in the live broadcast room, all the students from Qingbei have already been stunned. Chapter 4. 20 million. Not even selling 36 million. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. 20 million. Not even selling 36 million. 2,000. 10,000. I didn't hear you wrong just now, did he say, 20 million? This small chair is worth 20 million yuan. Isn't that a joke? In the live broadcast room, those students from the northern Qing dynasty have already exploded into a mess. Such a simple chair, although it can be said that it was made of millennia-old golden Nanmu. But it shouldn't be so valuable either. You should know. This is just a chair. Therefore, soon, a hostage questioned, isn't this Professor Su intentionally playing with us? So, how could such a simple chair be sold for over 20 million yuan? Liar, it must be a lie. It's absolutely impossible for someone from Christie's auction house to be on the opposite side. Professor Su, you should admit it quickly. In the barrage, the entire screen is filled with doubts about Su Bai. And facing these doubts, Su Bai did not provide much explanation either. Just a few words, that's all for today's live broadcast, and the answer will be revealed tomorrow. Then it was directly broadcasted. And this time he broadcasts. Moreover, it brought the heat of the whole matter to a climax. Countless students from Qingbei have uploaded the live broadcast footage online, and are even more eager to share this matter. Due to their already significant influence, coupled with the fact that this coincides with the recent hot topic of luxury goods in China. Therefore, without any intention of being out of place, this matter has gone viral again online. Hashtag Professor Qingbei angrily justifies the name of Chinese luxury goods. Hashtag is it crazy to sell a chair for 20 million yuan. Hashtag Professor Qingbei is suspected to play the double read, falsifying and sensationalizing the public. Hashtag is a luxury item in China actually a chair worth 20 million yuan. Hashtag what is Jinsi Nanmu? What is the price of Millennium Jinsi Nanmu? Hashtag entries like this. Countless on the entire internet. The discussion about this aspect almost paralyzed the entire Weibo account. Among the top 10 hot searches on Weibo, the top 6 are all about this topic. But the vast majority of people's opinions. But they all believe that Su Bai is cheating. Just because a chair costs 20 million yuan. Purely beyond their understanding. And it was also crafted by Su Bai in a few hours. Even if it doesn't require a nail to be so magical. But it won't sell for 20 million either. Where are you lying to ghosts? Over time, more and more people are holding on to this idea. This matter is becoming increasingly popular. And the result of this is, wait until the next morning when Su Bai wakes up and starts broadcasting. His live broadcast room was instantly packed with people. Many journalists even brought their devices directly to his doorstep for live streaming. I heard this is the professor's live broadcast room. It started broadcasting quite early. Where is that chair that claims to be 20 million yuan? Let's see it. Excuse me, Professor Su, is that chair really worth 20 million yuan? Can't you be deceiving others? As a professor from Qingbei, aren't you afraid that doing so will ruin your reputation? Will that Michigan really come? Countless questions drifted through the barrage. Su Bai has no words. Just quietly waiting for the arrival of Michigan. He knew that the other party was about to arrive. Sure enough. Less than half an hour has passed. An extended version of a vintage Rolls-Royce appeared at his doorstep. A gentleman in a black suit and a vintage round hat, as well as 2 strong men, walked down from above. The 2 strong men should be bodyguards, and that gentleman should be Michigan. He, who was supposed to have a gentlemanly demeanor, now appears somewhat dusty. My eyes are slightly red, as if I haven't slept all day. He first closed the car door, then politely knocked on Su Bai's door and said, "Excuse me, is Mr. Su at home? I'm Michigan. It's really him." After seeing the appearance of this gentleman from Ingwa, many barrage comments were exclaimed in surprise. This is clearly Michigan, the general manager of Christie's Ingwa headquarters, exactly like the video. Can you say, is everything that happened yesterday true? And as the general manager of Christie's, he really flew here overnight for more than 10 hours. Just for that chair. Everyone was stunned. Please come in. Su Bai gently opened the door and invited Michigan into her Chinese courtyard. This place is really nice. Actually, I could have directly asked our Christie's branch manager in China to check on my behalf. But after thinking about it, I decided to come in person. This is the respect that treasure deserves. Michigan first politely praised the layout of the courtyard. Then he immediately said eagerly, So, Mr. Su, may I ask if it's convenient for me to take a look at that chair first? Of course you can. Su Bai nodded and casually gestured to the corner of the yard. It's right there. Oh my God. Seeing the priceless chair, it was casually thrown into a corner of the yard by Su Bai. Michigan couldn't help but feel a pang of heartache. Quickly ran over to the other side, took out the tools he carried with him, and began to identify them. Gently stroked the pattern of this chair and observed the gold thread on it. The more Michigan looked at it, the more frightened it became. As the general manager of a globally renowned auction house, he, who has tasted countless treasures, is now incredibly confident. This chair is made of golden Nanmu that has been around for over 1,000 years. Su. Mr. Su, this chair of yours is real. Reagan turned back excitedly and said, our Christie's auction house is willing to use 20 million, no, 25 million Chinese coins for recycling. Wow. Reagan's words instantly caused a huge uproar in the entire live broadcast room. This ordinary chair is truly priceless. Not even the original 20 million, but 25 million. They were all stunned. But the next moment, something even more shocking happened to them. Facing the quotation from Michigan, Su Bai shook her head gently and said, no. No. Reagan was stunned and said, Mr. Su, I think my quotation is already sincere enough. How about I make a personal decision to raise it for you by 26 million yuan? No, I think you should take a closer look and provide a reasonable pricing. Su Bai reminded. Take a closer look. Reagan frowned hesitantly. Then he picked up a professional instrument and squatted down again. Take a more detailed look at this chair. 1 minute later, he was stunned and said, how come this chair doesn't even have a nail? There is not even a trace of carving, as if it grew directly from the tree, as if it were made in heaven. Is this the legendary process of mortise and tenon? Reagan was extremely shocked and spoke with a trembling tone. That's right, it's mortise and tenon craftsmanship. Su Bai nodded calmly. Oh my goodness, my God. After obtaining this definite answer, Michigan was completely shaken. The chair is made of millennia-old golden silk Nanmu and is still made using mortise and tenon craftsmanship. He is certain that if this thing were to be put on the global auction market, I can definitely make a sky-high price. Just now, it was me who rudely offended Mr. Su. I sorted out my emotions and the wrinkles on my suit. Your chair, Christie's auction house, is willing to offer $6 million, which is 36 million Chinese dollars. How about that, said Michigan with some difficulty. After hearing this number, the entire audience in the live broadcast room was silent. Just now it was 26 million. After witnessing the mortise and tenon craftsmanship, surprisingly, they just offered a sky-high price of 36 million. And this craft was completely created by Su Bai himself in the afternoon. That is to say, is the craftsmanship of Su Bai worth a whole million? After realizing this point, the way all the audience looked at Su Bai was different. At the same time, he also began to feel ashamed of his previous foolishness. Special. A chair costs 36 million yuan. This is really the top luxury item. Those so-called Gucci, Chanel, branded watches, branded bags are considered eggs. Originally, is this our luxury item in China? It seems that what Professor Su said is really right. It's not that China doesn't have luxury goods, but they can't even afford them. At this point, everyone agrees. Faced with this sky-high price, Su Bai should agree to sell, right? However, Su Bai's answer surprised them once again. No. Su Bai shook her head lightly and said calmly, this chair will participate in the World Auction Conference and participate in global bidding. What? Upon hearing this sentence, the audience in the entire live broadcast room are really dumbfounded. A chair that costs 36 million yuan is not for sale. Are you crazy? Reagan gritted his teeth even more. He knows that Su Bai is definitely a knowledgeable person, and he can't pick up this cheap today. Therefore, he could only grit his teeth and agree, no problem, we can even waive all the transaction fees for you. Just agree and name our Christie's auction house. Sure. Chapter 5. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Internet-wide discussion. Is Jinsi Nanmu really worth a lot of money? Kneeling for flowers to reward and evaluate, so, Mr. Su, I'll say goodbye first. Next, there are many things to be busy with. In the camera of the live broadcast room. As one of the top 10 auction houses in the world, the general manager of Christie's auction house, Michigan, greeted Su Bai with courtesy. Signing the contract. And with the permission of Su Bai. That's when my two strong bodyguards walked into the courtyard. Carefully wrapped the golden Nanmu chair. And called again, individually calling for a large truck from Christie's auction department's Huaxia branch. A huge space and a few bodyguards. Just to load and escort this golden Nanmu chair. Be careful, you fools. This is a treasure worth nearly $10 million. I can't even afford to sell you guys. Due to the fact that all the staff coming are white. So Michigan showed them no courtesy and scolded them in a burst. After turning around again, his face changed rapidly and he said, Dear Mr. Su, are we leaving first? Happy cooperation. Su Bai nodded slightly. After a conversation ended, Michigan took his chair with satisfaction and bid farewell. He will help Su Bai plan all the matters related to this chair at this world auction. At the same time, he also had a premonition that this chair, made of millennia-old golden Nanmu using mortise and tenon craftsmanship, would cause a sensation at the entire world auction and sell for a sky-high price. Although Christie's may not receive a penny, it is often found at auctions, but treasures are hard to come by. For auction houses at their level, name is already more important than money. As long as this chair was auctioned off under the name of Christie's and gained fame, they will not be at a loss. However, in order to sell this chair at a sky-high price, it still requires early promotion. The World Auction Conference is approaching. There are many things and time is tight, so his manager will be very busy. And on the other side, seeing the scene of Michigan paying homage to Su Bai. Everyone in the live broadcast room has long been dumbfounded. I didn't read it wrong, did I? As one of the top 10 auction managers in the world, how could Christie's be so polite to Professor Su? Isn't it always said that these Western white people are very arrogant? Arrogance is right, but after looking at the treasure in Professor Su's hand, I guess no one can be arrogant anymore. Does that chair really have such magical power? Nonsense, they have all signed contracts in black and white, is this still fake? I never expected that a chair could be sold for such a high price. Sure enough, is this our luxury item in China? A chair worth 36 million yuan is not for sale, and those Gucci Chanel are just a hook. In the live broadcast room, barrage of bullets surged wildly. Most of these water enthusiasts are students from the north and have heard Su Bai's lectures. Even worse, they are students from other prestigious schools. My horizons are much broader than those of ordinary people. But even so, seeing Michigan so polite to Su Bai again, I can't help but feel proud and proud. Originally, Professor Su was right before. They are not without luxury goods in China, but ordinary people simply cannot afford them. Even if you can't afford it, you can't even connect and touch it. After all, a chair costs 36 million yuan, and it's just a base. Who could imagine that? For a while, all the students in the live broadcast room were deeply shocked. At this point, Su Bai glanced at the live broadcast room. Alright, that's all for today's live broadcast. I'll take it down for now, he said in a timely manner subsequently, the live broadcast room was directly closed. Sleeping trough, don't do it. Watching the live broadcast room suddenly turn pitch black. The students have become dumbfounded one after another. Worry, Professor Su, let's not bring such a thing. Yeah, I haven't even enjoyed watching it yet. Can you explain to us at least why that golden Nanmu is so expensive? Please, let's continue broadcasting. Let's talk for a while, let's talk for a while. However, no matter how much they tried to persuade them to stay, no matter how much doubt they had in their hearts, Su Bai had already been shut down. In a state of excitement and helplessness. All they can do is to share this live broadcast recording online. Firstly, the first thing that comes to their mind is the Qingbei Forum. After all, this incident was originally caused in the north of the Qing dynasty. Soon, the entire Qingbei Forum was flooded with this video. And quickly sparked heated discussions throughout the entire Qingbei Forum, so what Professor Su said is actually true. Countless students from northern China are all amazed. In this mood. This video has been eagerly forwarded by them again. Whether it's Zihu, Duban, Tushio, or Weibo moments. They're all brushing the screen. I wipe, the friend circle of students from Qingbei. Is it still related to the luxury goods incident a while ago? Hurry up and take a look inside. As soon as they saw these forwarding links, netizens couldn't help but click on them one after another. On the one hand, students from the northern Qing dynasty have a greater influence than ordinary people. There is a student from Qingbei in my circle of friends. No matter what he posts, most people would want to click in and take a look. There are many people who clicked on that video with this mentality. On the other hand, this video is also related to the hot topic of the Chinese luxury goods incident a few days ago, as well as the person involved, Professor Su Bai. It's like having its own heat. This directly leads to. It's just over an hour. This video has become popular on various social media platforms and apps, starting from the forums and social circles of students from northern China. Causing heated discussions across the internet. Accompanied by increasingly high heat. More and more people are clicking on this video. After watching the first half of the video, they all relaxed their brows. Oh. It turns out to be the professor who claims that China is not without luxury goods, but rather something we can't afford. What do I think he is? When they saw the middle part of the video, they suddenly froze. What? How could the general manager of one of the world's top 10 auction houses be so polite to Su Bai? When watching the second half of the video, everyone was dumbfounded. Nima. A chair costs 36 million, isn't it the final price? And also participate in the legendary world auction. Oh my goodness, is this too crazy? What kind of immortal treasure is that chair? Is it worth so much money just because it was made of Millennium old golden Nanmu? Moment the golden Nanmu used to create this chair has directly attracted the attention of many people. Hashtag the entry, Jinsi Nanmu hashtag, is even more popular on Weibo. Countless netizens are all puzzled. What exactly is this golden Nanmu? Why is it so valuable? Meanwhile, more people are beginning to question it. Is this Nima fake news? Isn't it just a chair? How could it be worth so much? Chapter 5. Global discussion on the real price of golden silk Nanmu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Internet-wide discussion. Is Jinsi Nanmu really worth a lot of money? Kneeling for flowers to reward and evaluate, so, Mr. Su, I'll say goodbye first. Next, there are many things to be busy with. In the camera of the live broadcast room. As one of the top 10 auction houses in the world, the general manager of Christie's auction house, Rishigan, greeted Su Bai with courtesy. Signing the contract. And with the permission of Su Bai. That's when my two strong bodyguards walked into the courtyard. Carefully wrapped the golden Nanmu chair. And called again, individually calling for a large truck from Christie's auction department's Huaxia branch. A huge space and a few bodyguards. Just to load and escort this golden Nanmu chair. Be careful, you fools. This is a treasure worth nearly $10 million. I can't even afford to sell you guys. Due to the fact that all the staff coming are white. So Michigan showed them no courtesy and scolded them in a burst. After turning around again, his face changed rapidly and he said, "Dear Mr. Su, are we leaving first? Happy cooperation." Su Bai nodded slightly. After a conversation ended, Michigan took his chair with satisfaction and bid farewell. He will help Su Bai plan all the matters related to this chair at this world auction. At the same time, he also had a premonition that this chair, made of millennia-old golden Nanmu using mortise and tenon craftsmanship, would cause a sensation at the entire world auction and sell for a sky-high price. Although Christie's may not receive a penny, it is often found at auctions, but treasures are hard to come by. For auction houses at their level, name is already more important than money. As long as this chair was auctioned off under the name of Christie's and gained fame, they will not be at a loss. However, in order to sell this chair at a sky-high price, it still requires early promotion. The World Auction Conference is approaching. There are many things and time is tight, so his manager will be very busy. And on the other side, seeing the scene of Michigan paying homage to Su Bai. Everyone in the live broadcast room has long been dumbfounded. I didn't read it wrong, did I? As one of the top 10 auction managers in the world, how could Christie's be so polite to Professor Su? Isn't it always said that these Western white people are very arrogant? Arrogance is right, but after looking at the treasure in Professor Su's hand, I guess no one can be arrogant anymore. Does that chair really have such magical power? Nonsense, they have all signed contracts in black and white. Is this still fake? I never expected that a chair could be sold for such a high price. Sure enough, is this our luxury item in China? A chair worth 36 million yuan is not for sale, and those Gucci Chanel are just a hook. In the live broadcast room, barrage of bullets surged wildly. Most of these water enthusiasts are students from the north and have heard Su Bai's lectures. Even worse, they are students from other prestigious schools. My horizons are much broader than those of ordinary people. But even so, seeing Michigan so polite to Su Bai again, I can't help but feel proud and proud. Originally, Professor Su was right before. They are not without luxury goods in China, but ordinary people simply cannot afford them. Even if you can't afford it, you can't even connect and touch it. After all, a chair costs 36 million yuan, and it's just a base. Who could imagine that? For a while, all the students in the live broadcast room were deeply shocked. At this point, Su Bai glanced at the live broadcast room. Alright, that's all for today's live broadcast. I'll take it down for now, he said in a timely manner. Subsequently, the live broadcast room was directly closed. Sleeping trough, don't do it. Watching the live broadcast room suddenly turn pitch black. The students have become dumbfounded one after another. Worry, Professor Su, let's not bring such a thing. Yeah, I haven't even enjoyed watching it yet. Can you explain to us at least why that golden Nanmu is so expensive? Please, let's continue broadcasting. Let's talk for a while, However, no matter how much they tried to persuade them to stay, no matter how much doubt they had in their hearts, Su Bai had already been shut down. In a state of excitement and helplessness. All they can do is to share this live broadcast recording online. Firstly, the first thing that comes to their mind is the Qingbei Forum. After all, this incident was originally caused in the north of the Qin dynasty. Soon, the entire Qingbei Forum was flooded with this video. And quickly sparked heated discussions throughout the entire Qingbei Forum, so what Professor Su said is actually true. Countless students from northern China are all amazed. In this mood, This video has been eagerly forwarded by them again. Whether it's Zihu, Duban, Tushio, or Weibo moments. They're all brushing the screen. I wipe, the friend circle of students from Qingbei. Is it still related to the luxury goods incident a while ago? Hurry up and take a look inside. As soon as they saw these forwarding links, netizens couldn't help but click on them one after another. On the one hand, students from the northern Qin dynasty have a greater influence than ordinary people. There is a student from Qingbei in my circle of friends. No matter what he posts, most people would want to click in and take a look. There are many people who clicked on that video with this mentality. On the other hand, this video is also related to the hot topic of the Chinese luxury goods incident a few days ago, as well as the person involved, Professor Su Bai. It's like having its own heat. This directly leads to. It's just over an hour. This video has become popular on various social media platforms and apps, starting from the forums and social circles of students from northern China, causing heated discussions across the internet, accompanied by increasingly high heat. More and more people are clicking on this video. After watching the first half of the video, they all relaxed their brows. Oh. It turns out to be the professor who claims that China is not without luxury goods, but rather something we can't afford. What do I think he is? When they saw the middle part of the video, they suddenly froze. What? How could the general manager of one of the world's top 10 auction houses be so polite to Su Bai? When watching the second half of the video, everyone was dumbfounded. Nima. A chair costs 36 million, isn't it the final price? And also participate in the legendary world auction. Oh my goodness, is this too crazy? What kind of immortal treasure is that chair? Is it worth so much money just because it was made of Millennium old golden Nanmu? Moment the golden Nanmu used to create this chair has directly attracted the attention of many people. Hashtag the entry, Jinsi Nanmu hashtag, is even more popular on Weibo. Countless netizens are all puzzled. What exactly is this golden Nanmu? Why is it so valuable? Meanwhile, more people are beginning to question it. Is this Nima fake news? Isn't it just a chair? How could it be worth so much? Chapter 6. Excited National Studies Tycoon, Millennium Golden Silk Nan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Excited by the Grand Master of Chinese Studies, does thousand-year-old golden silk Nanmu really exist? Kneeling for flowers to reward and evaluate, well, it's like this. Ha ha ha, our Chinese culture is vast and profound. You still need to study it carefully. In a live broadcast room. A white beard, looking 70 or 80 years old. But the old man, who still had a rosy face and a lively spirit, said happily. At this moment, he is splashing ink in front of the live broadcast camera. The young assistant next to him is polishing his ink. In the blink of an eye, 4 big characters fell on the snow-white rice paper. Heaven rewards diligence. These 4 big characters are majestic, like walking dragons and snakes. The live broadcast room was cheered by everyone. Work hard during this gap. The young assistant finally has leisure time to stop and take a break, brushing his phone. But when he saw a certain entry, he couldn't help but sneer and say, what kind of thing? A chair made of millennia-old golden silk Nanmu, not sold for 36 million. It's fake news at first glance. After laughing, the young assistant shook his head and turned to the next news. Just at this moment, something unexpected happened to him. What did you just say? The old man, who was originally communicating with the audience in the live broadcast room, suddenly froze when he heard the 6 words, Millennium Golden Silk Nanmu. Afterwards, he directly grabbed the hand of the young assistant and exclaimed excitedly, what kind of chair made of Millennium Old Golden Silk Nanmu? Show me it now. Su Lao, why are you suddenly so excited? The young assistant suddenly became confused. He has never seen Su Lao show such an expression before. Stop talking nonsense, where did you see the news from? Show me the news now. Su Lao still exclaimed excitedly. Yes, it's a hot search on Weibo recently. It's related to whether China has luxury goods recently. The young assistant took out his phone and clicked on those news articles. Mr. Su snatched away his phone. His agile skills showed no sign that he was already in his 70s or 80s. Subsequently, the conversation between the two also caught the attention of the audience in the live broadcast room. Millennium Golden Silk Nanmu. Are you talking about the hot search on Weibo? I know about this. It's already crazy on Weibo. Everyone is guessing what this golden Nanmu is and why it's so valuable. Don't you believe that fake news, do you? That's right, no matter what kind of wood it is, it doesn't sell for 36 million yuan, which is a bit too fake, right? Anyway, we don't believe it, it's just ridiculous. The sale of chairs by Su Bai has undoubtedly caused a heated debate on the internet. Those who believe in this matter naturally question it. Not selling a chair for 36 million yuan is undoubtedly beyond the understanding of many people. This is something they cannot understand. In their eyes, this is fake news, and used for hype and deception. And these types of people are not uncommon, even increasing in number. I see. I didn't expect that in this world, there really exists something like Millennium Old Golden Silk Nanmu. Knowing this news is truly a great blessing in life. If I could personally take a look at it, it would be a worthwhile life. Amidst the discussions among the audience in the live broadcast room, the old man finally finished watching the few videos related to Su Bai. I highly praised Su Bai's technique of creating chairs. That, Mr. Su. Seeing the excited old man on his face, the young assistant couldn't help but ask, why are you so happy? Isn't this news fake news? Fake news about farts. Hear this sentence. Su Lao suddenly widened his eyes in anger and said, who said this is fake news? This. The young assistant weakly said, a chair made of random wood is worth 36 million yuan. It's not reasonable to say that, isn't it fake news? Yeah, this cliff is fake news. A chair made from a piece of wood in an afternoon can sell for 36 million yuan. Isn't this really magical? Yeah, how could that be possible? Even if it's some golden Nanmu, shouldn't it be so valuable? The audience in the live broadcast room also said one after another. Upon seeing these barrage comments, Mr. Su sneered and said, you guys, it's still the design. You're too young. I have no idea at all about the value of this 1,000-year-old golden Nanmu. I tell you, that was the royal exclusive wood of ancient emperors back then. To describe it as priceless, it can be considered light. What? After listening to Mr. Su's words, the young assistant immediately trembled all over. As Mr. Su, he will never shoot aimlessly. Isn't this just representing that this news is true? Is that chair really worth 36 million? However. But the viewers in the live broadcast room don't think so. This old man is really good at joking. He can say anything about royal wood. So, a piece of broken wood is the royal wood. I even said that my bowl was used by Emperor Qianlong back then. He's really laughing to death. He doesn't even know if he watched the video clearly, so he made this kind of assertion. Isn't this old man an accomplice of that fake news person? Did he join forces to deceive everyone? It's very likely. See these bullet comments. Mr. Su has not made any response yet. The young assistant on one side couldn't resist it. He had just come to his senses from the shock he had just received when he saw these barrage comments that slandered Mr. Su. Can't help but get angry and say, what are you talking about? Do you know what identity Mr. Su is? He is the leader of Chinese traditional culture in our country, and your Chinese traditional culture textbooks are personally edited by Mr. Su. Such a national treasure level figure has received the highest level of reception. And now you suspect him of lying. Chapter 7. Endorsement by a Chinese scholar and a preliminary estimate. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. The endorsement of a Chinese scholar, with a preliminary estimate of over 48 million yuan. Kneeling for flowers to reward and evaluate, how could you suspect that such a Chinese scholar is lying? The young assistant was extremely angry. I completely cannot accept that someone dares to offend Mr. Su, even if it is just verbal. Is it so awesome? You said he was a master of traditional Chinese culture, and I also said that my grandfather was. That's right, who knows? In the barrage of the live broadcast room. Seeing the angry appearance of the assistant. Some bullet comments couldn't help but mutter. At this point, someone who finally knew the truth couldn't help but feel overwhelmed. Jumping out and condemning directly, I'm sorry, he's really so awesome. If you don't understand, go check the information yourself. Don't keep talking here. If you don't know how to search for information, then I'll copy it for you to see. Soon. The information about Mr. Su was posted. Su Huaijin, a renowned figure in traditional Chinese culture, main contribution. I personally edited Chinese traditional culture textbooks and served as a professor of Chinese culture at Tsinghua University. During that turbulent era, I also maintained the seeds of Chinese traditional culture, with countless disciples spanning multiple fields and now holding high positions. He is undoubtedly a master of traditional Chinese culture. I wipe it, it's really so amazing. After reading this posted material, the previous sunspots suddenly fell silent and disappeared without a trace. I didn't expect that Su Bai kid to have such skills. At this point, Mr. Su, however, completely ignored the trivial matters on the barrage. Just watching the process of Su Bai making golden silk Nanmu chairs again and again. Seeing the mortise and tenon craftsmanship, he sighed for himself and said, no wonder when I first saw him, I felt like he was not a fish in the pond. That, Mr. Su. The young assistant scolded the group of inconspicuous black people in the barrage. Can't help but say, is that chair really that valuable? After all, a chair worth 36 million yuan or something is still too exaggerated. Yes, yes. In the barrage, some viewers also strongly agree. Anyway, this chair was built by Professor Su in half a day, and it turned out to sell for 36 million yuan, which is really exaggeration. Upon hearing this, Mr. Su snorted lightly and said, you know, that's a chair made of Millennium old golden silk Nanmu, which can be considered priceless treasure. How could you exaggerate it? This. The young assistant said, to be honest, Mr. Su, you've been talking about golden silk Nanmu. But what exactly is this golden silk Nanmu and why is it so precious? Yeah, we have no idea about this at all. The barrage audience once again echoed in agreement. Oh, it's really the decline of traditional Chinese culture. You don't even know about the golden Nanmu tree. Watching these equally curious barrage comments, Su Lao sighed. Then he said sternly, Jinsi Nanmu is a precious wood unique to China, which is nowhere else. It is generally over 30 meters tall, with a fragrant wood texture, straight and fine structure, not easily deformed or cracked. The surface of the wood shines with gold in the sunlight, with gold threads emerging, and has a light and elegant fragrance. It is an excellent wood for architecture, high-end furniture, and other purposes. Due to its slow growth period and difficulty in survival, golden Nanmu is very precious. In our history, it has always been dedicated to our royal palaces in China, and most people simply cannot afford it. Even in modern times, that's still the case. Su Laopu said, even if it's just a typical decades-old golden Nanmu, it's selling at a super high price. The furniture made from them is simply unaffordable for ordinary people. And due to the preciousness of the golden silk Nanmu, it can generally grow for decades or even centuries before being directly cut down and used. Centuries-old golden Nanmu is extremely rare, and each one can be sold for millions of dollars. And millennium-old Nanmu, that's even more limited to historical legends. But to my surprise, this legend has become a reality today. Su sighed and said, "Now, you finally understand why this 1,000-year-old golden Nanmu is so precious, right? Sleeping trough, did this golden Nanmu hang like this?" After listening to Mr. Su's words, everyone was surprised. Only then did I understand the true meaning represented by the 1,000-year-old golden silk Nanmu. Originally, hundreds of years old golden silk Nanmu could be sold for millions. It seems that the furniture made of millennia-old golden silk Nanmu is selling for 36 million yuan, which is not unacceptable. Of course, the millennium golden Nanmu is indeed precious, but the reason why that chair can be sold so expensive is actually due to another key point. Su Lao stroked his beard and said, "What's the point?" The young assistant asked on the side. "It's the technique of creating it." Techniques. Everyone was stunned. That's right, it's just the technique. Su Lao looked at the technique of Su Bai creating chairs in the video and said in a deep voice. The mortise and tenon craftsmanship is known as the greatest skill passed down by the founder of carpentry, Master Lu Ban. Its superb craftsmanship, which does not require a single nail and does not damage the natural structure of wood, but can maintain the stability of the work, perfectly aligns with our Chinese Taoist philosophy of harmony between man and nature, and no one has surpassed it to this day. According to legend, this technique has been lost for a long time, and I only remembered it when I saw it in ancient books. I didn't expect it to reappear in Su Bai's hands today. To be honest, without Su Bai's craftsmanship, this chair would only be over 20 million yuan at most, but because of this mortise and tenon craftsmanship, everything is different. Upon hearing this, everyone was once again shocked. If it weren't for the craftsmanship of Su Bai, this chair would only cost over 20 million yuan at most. That is to say, Su Bai's craftsmanship is really worth millions, isn't it? Also, Su continued, "You always think that selling this chair for 36 million yuan is outrageous. According to me, this is not outrageous at all. After all, how can this lost technique, combined with the millennium-old precious materials, not be precious? The meaning of this work has long exceeded its value and can be considered an invaluable treasure. Of course, if you insist on setting a price for it, it's not impossible." Mr. Su raised his eyes and said, "I estimate that the final price for this work at the world auction will be around 48 million yuan. Hiss. Upon hearing this, the audience in the entire live broadcast room gasped for breath. They originally thought that selling a chair for 36 million would be outrageous enough. But I didn't expect it. Mr. Su surprisingly doesn't think it's enough. Even estimated a sky-high price of around 48 million. There's still an extra 12 million. How dare people believe this? Moment people are all dumbfounded. And when they come to their senses. Su Lao, a renowned master of traditional Chinese culture and a national treasure who had been received by the highest authorities, not only wildly praised Su Bai's craftsmanship, but also immediately spread the news that he valued the chair at 48 million yuan. It spread to the whole internet in a short time, adding fuel to the already explosive heat of this matter. Chapter 8. The next luxury, Dahongpao Mother Tree. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Next luxury, Dahongpao Mother Tree Tea. Kneeling for flowers to reward and evaluate on the internet. The topic of golden Nanmu continues to rise. Not long after, many netizens began to discuss these topics. Wow, a piece of wood can actually sell for 48 million yuan. Good guy, wouldn't it be easy to make 100 or 80 pounds of this kind of wood with dozens of small targets? What are you waiting for? Hurry up and sell it. With this money, even if you don't do anything in this lifetime, just lie flat. Speaking of where to buy such things, let's all earn money together. At this moment, Many netizens who are not sure why gave such comments as soon as they saw this message. After all, there are too many fake messages online these days. Qin Shi Huang may still be alive, and Shen Wansan's treasure may be hidden somewhere. At first, these netizens would patiently go and watch. After more attempts, these netizens became smarter and labeled this matter before even starting to read. This time it's the same, and many people even gave comments without clicking on it. For these, their hearts are undoubtedly disgusted. After all, there are too many ghosts and snakes on the internet. They cannot be certain whether this news is true or false, they can only deny it first. However, there are still some enthusiastic netizens who were completely shocked after reading these news. Sleeping trough, this is really amazing. A chair made of golden Nanmu is worth over 40 million yuan. I dare ask, where would anyone want to bring back some of this wood as a family heirloom? I don't want to know where to get it either. Can Professor Su Bai give me the scraps of the chair he made? Good guy, you're really a little clever ghost, you can think of it all. Seeking seeds, seeking no codes, seeking high definition. I always feel like something's wrong, but I can't say either. On the internet, the discussion among netizens was lively, and even speculation arose about the final price of the chair made of golden Nanmu. Some people think this is a hyped-up topic, and there may be no one to ask about it in the end. But more people believe that they will bid a higher price. Anyway, in terms of attention, it's definitely full. At this point, in Su Bai's study, he is organizing relevant materials. All the information, various points, and surface references related to golden Nanmu are compiled in the file. Since he intends to promote Chinese culture and pass on Chinese luxury culture, he must fully showcase it. This kind of thing can't be done casually, even if it's just a little bit off, it will be taken advantage of by those with intentions. Even sometimes. The ones who cause the most trouble with this kind of thing are not the foreigners. The first to question these is actually the people of our own country. Due to recent years, some foreign films and TV dramas, as well as other products. All of these have established a wrong value system for the Chinese people. Many people believe that foreign things are good. For those foreign luxury goods, even if you are frugal, you should buy them. On the other hand, those domestic products are constantly belittled. Now, Su Bai needs to gradually reverse this mindset. He wants others to understand that China is not without luxury goods, but that you cannot afford luxury goods in China. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but sigh. Now it seems that this matter still has a long way to go. He did not see any external discussions. Of course, his own focus is not on this aspect. As a professor in Qingbei, his initial idea was to promote Chinese culture and justify Chinese luxury goods. Now, his goal has been achieved. He believes that the promotion of this matter by Christie's auction house will make more people aware. At that time, his goal will also be achieved. Now he is considering the next showcasing of Chinese luxury goods. At this point, he set his gaze on the next item. Dahongpao tea, the mother tree of Mount Wuyi. Seeing this, Su Bai hesitated for a moment. How precious the tea of Dahongpao, the mother tree of Mount Wuyi, was in his heart. And this time, since we have decided to make this the item to be displayed in the next live broadcast. In fact, this is not an easy task in itself. If it is golden Nanmu, it can also be analyzed based on its yield, material, and cultural heritage. These are the most intuitive feelings that can be seen with the naked eye, allowing other viewers to empathize with the differences of Jinsi Nanmu. Just how to display the Dahongpao mother tree tea. Is it difficult? During the Su Bai live broadcast, would you like to brew a cup of tea and show it to the audience? Leaving aside the rest, these are simply not enough to demonstrate their value. At that time, a group of people will also come out to refute this matter. In itself, the purpose of Su Bai is to promote Chinese luxury culture and make more people aware of the charm brought by Chinese luxury goods. If this happens, not only will it fail to achieve the desired effect, but it will also have the opposite effect. With this in mind, Su Bai couldn't help but shake her head. It seems that this method still doesn't work. In fact, the value of Dahongpao is very high. According to the evaluation of the tea master, Dahongpao has been brewed 9 times without leaving its original flavor. After brewing 7 times, the taste of ordinary tea leaves becomes very light. Among others, Mount Wuyi Dahongpao mother tree is the only one in the world. Rare things are precious. Moreover, its annual production is extremely low. All these things combined have added a mysterious veil to it. Nowadays, the purpose of Su Bai is to showcase a different kind of Dahongpao to the world. With this in mind, Su Bai was still secretly pondering. But how should we demonstrate it other than this method? Thinking of these, Su Bai fell into deep thought. However, at this moment, a knock on the door broke the silence. Chapter 9. Su Huaijin. Su Bai, we would like to invite. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Su Huaijin. Su Bai, we would like to ask for your help. Kneeling to beg for flowers to reward evaluation tickets. Who is it? Despite Su Bai's confusion, he still stood up and opened the door. Normally, Su Bai would not deliberately manage her own circle. And those who know his home address are either some professors in this circle, or his most valued students. In summary, he did not shy away from this statement, regardless of which one. At the moment the door opened, a man with a grey beard and a black Zhongshan suit stood there. Although he appears to be in his early years, his mental state is very good. Especially at the moment he saw Su Bai, his eyes flickered with a bright light. Professor Su. At the moment she saw him, Su Bai hesitated for a moment before saying, Professor Su, why did you come? As a professor in Qingbei, how could he not know who Su Huaijin is? However, because the two did not have much intersection before apart from occasionally meeting each other at some public events, there are not many scenes where the two of them interact. That's also why Su Bai was somewhat surprised by his arrival. As for Su Huaijin's words. At this moment, seeing Su Bai's reaction, it seemed as expected. He didn't explain much, but looked at Su Bai with a faint smile and said, Why, don't you invite me in to sit down? As the saying goes, those who come are guests. Moreover, the other party is still a senior in the college. After these words came out, Su Bai also smiled knowingly and then welcomed Su Huaijin in. Although Su Bai's previous actions have caused quite a stir on the internet. However, as a party involved, he did not pay attention to the internet and was unaware that he had caused a sensation. Seeing Su Huaijin's sudden appearance at this moment, he naturally did not know why the other party was looking for him. With some inner doubts, the two also walked into the room. And a moment later, when Su Huaijin entered the room, she didn't rush to get straight to the point, but instead looked around with her eyes. The room is not very big. The first feeling after entering was that the furnishings in the house were relatively simple. But at the same time, the arrangement in front of people gives a very comfortable and warm feeling. You should know. For the vast majority of university professors, they excel in their own fields. In academic terms, they may be able to speak eloquently and even excel in this field, but in their daily lives, they are generally somewhat rough. After all, attention is focused on the research content, while others are neglected. However, Su Bai's home was refreshing to Su Huaijin, and her impression of her rose even further in her heart. As the saying goes, if you don't sweep a house, why sweep the world? Observing the layout of the house can also roughly reveal some of the daily habits of Su Bai. Just as Su Huaijin was examining the furnishings of the room. On the other hand, Su Bai was not idle either. I saw that Su Bai came to the tea table in the living room and made it, picked up a set of ancient and exquisite tea sets, and then began brewing tea to entertain her. And next, Su Bai's unique tea-making technique caught Su Huaijin's gaze and he was lost in thought. This is Tea 100 Dramas. After a moment, Su Huaijin looked at Su Bai's exquisite technique and finally remembered a piece of content recorded in the book. She couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Cha Bai Shi. This is an ancient master of tea ceremony, with superb craftsmanship in brewing tea, which is undoubtedly the pinnacle of tea ceremony. Over the past 1,000 years, many of these exquisite techniques have long been lost, and the essence and top-notch existence of the Tea 100 opera are among them. Su Huaijin also saw relevant records in many ancient books at the beginning. Unexpectedly, Su Bai in front of her mastered such techniques. Not to mention Su Huaijin's age, he has some interest in tea ceremony to some extent. Just seeing such techniques reappear in the world also makes him excited in his heart. And Su Bai's actions were like flowing clouds and flowing water, which greatly pleased Su Huaijin's eyes. In the blink of an eye. Accompanied by the technique of Su Bai, a refreshing aroma also permeates the air. The fragrance of tea permeates the world, inviting guests from all directions. Today, the old man, I finally experienced the true meaning of this poem firsthand. For a moment, smelling the fragrance wafting in the air, Su Huaijin couldn't help but take a deep breath and also let out a voice of admiration. Originally, he wanted to directly explain the purpose of his visit. But as Su Bai's actions put him in the midst of it, he unconsciously temporarily put his initial thoughts behind him. At this moment, the strong aroma of tea intoxicated him. Su Bai didn't say anything, but tasted tea with Su Huaijin. In a moment, Su Huaijin also savored the fragrance of tea for a long time before finally regaining her senses. Looking at Su Bai in front of him again, his eyes seemed to sparkle with excitement, and his inner thoughts became increasingly firm. Su Bai, I have already watched your live broadcast. Your performance is very good, and it also showcases my Chinese luxury culture very well. As Su Huaijin spoke, it made Su Bai beside her curious. Have you watched his live broadcast? You should know that reaching the level of Su Huaijin requires dealing with a lot of academic matters in her field. Now, he says he's watching Su Bai's live broadcast. In front of a professor like Su Huaijin, Su Bai didn't dare to ask too much, but nodded slightly to signal. It's my honor to have your recognition, Professor. After all, what I was thinking more about before this was how to make the world more aware of Chinese culture. In fact, in recent years, whether it's in the domestic or international market, there are too many people who have developed prejudice against China. I believe that Huaxia is backward and inferior to them in all aspects. But little did they know that what they were proud of was what Huaxia had left behind. Foreigners use knives and forks, saying that Chinese people use chopsticks poorly and cut down a large number of trees every year. However, they had no idea that knives and forks were still used during the Xia, Qin, and Han dynasties, or even earlier. Later on, it gradually developed and abandoned this method, but for some unknown reason, it was used again by these foreigners. And his original intention is precisely to change these. Of course, he knows that he still has a heavy and long way to go now. At this moment, it was Su Huaijin beside her who looked at him with a glimmer of light in her eyes. This young man is extraordinary. Although the two had not had much contact before, the brief encounter this time filled Su Huaijin with anticipation and curiosity. I pondered for a long time. Su Huaijin looked at the plain Su Bai in front of her, her eyes flickering with light, and her expression suddenly became serious. Su Bai. There's something we'd like to ask for your help with.